Yo, yo, yo. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Happy Tuesday. My name is Justin Moore, founder of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream brand partnerships. Back at it for another live stream today. Got a juicy one for you today. We're going to be talking about something that I call the collaboration paradox. Ooh, juicy. Was that a click-worthy headline? Today, it's going to be an interesting one because I've been noodling around this concept. I'm actually going to be doing a keynote talk about this a little bit later this year. And so I thought this would be like a good little dry run, a good little test run of this idea that I've been mulling over and get y'all's feedback on it, mainly because this is the first time that I'm kind of talking about something that isn't just about sponsorships. It's just talking about the creative act from a broader sense and how to actually fund that as part of our life and our business. So excited to talk about that today. Let me know where you're tuning in from. We've got a statistician, DX. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Esthetician. I don't know why I'm not able to do that today. Doris Hearts to Shauna, your BFF. What's up, Shauna? Good to see you here in the chat. Who do we got over here on YouTube? We've got Angry Owl Outdoors popping in and out while checking construction sites at work. Good to see you here and honored that you're popping in here in the middle of a work day. So first of all, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that I haven't been here for a couple weeks. You probably have seen that I scheduled and then canceled multiple live streams over the last couple weeks. It's been a tough chapter for my family and for the business. It's just been a lot of stuff going on. Most prevalently, had to put my cat down. My cat of 16 years, basically, last weekend. And that was really hard for me, my wife, my kids. His name is Sunrise, and we adopted him right when my wife and I moved in together. And so he has been in our life basically for every memory that we have throughout our relationship, moving in together, getting engaged, getting married, having kids, growing up, moving a bunch of different times. We have 3 cats, but our first cat in particular, has just been such a constant throughout our lives. And those of you who have pets know that they become a part of your family, and so it was really hard. And there's just a bunch of other crazy stuff going on too, personally for me. And so it was just I tried to muster up the strength to do the live stream, put on a strong face, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I appreciate your grace as we kind of navigate all this stuff that's going on. I feel a bit on the other side of it. Obviously, it's only been a week and a half or so since we had to do that, but I've also never had to put a pet down. I've had pets in my life, but it never was me. It was always my parents' pet or something like that. And so that was weird. That was super weird. It was also sorry, I'm getting into this, but I kind of have to, I feel with animals, it's so difficult because my cat Sunrise, he had cancer. He had a cancer diagnosis about a year ago, and he had actually surgery. We had a surgery, but he had 2 types of cancer. He had a carcinoma in his colon, which was removed. But then he also had lymphoma. And so we got a lot more time with him than we expected. But it was still this weird thing where it wasn't he was in critical pain, crying, noticeably in pain. It was just more this very gradual decline. And so it was this really weird thing where it was just when do you call it? When do you call it where it's just okay, it's only going to get worse from here. And we really don't want to ever be in a situation where we wake up and he's in acute distress and we have to end things really suddenly. And it's really stressful and on us and on him and our kids. And so it was just this really a big emotional toll, making that decision. Well, I guess we're going to call it now, and yeah, that was really hard. So, yeah, I don't know. Has any of you ever gone through that? It was the first time for me and my wife, and also like my kids, especially, like they've only ever known him being there. And, my cat slept with them, and like, it was just like it was very traumatizing for my kids, especially. So anyways, appreciate your grace there, Jason. Scan the world. Good to see you here from Cyprus. Bianca, good to see you here. Appreciate your kind words. Angry Owl Outdoors. Yeah, it means a lot. Sarah says, yeah, losing a pet is always hard. 100%. It's been very, very hard. All right, so let's get into the topic at hand. You guys know that these live streams that I do are for y'all, and so any questions that you have around brand deals and negotiations and partnerships, please make sure to drop it in the chat. We'll get to those a bit later in the stream. So, what I wanted to talk about here, for those of you who are just tuning in here, we've got this very juicy subject line, which was the collaboration paradox: why we create together but monetize alone. And so I want to pose kind of a truism, I think, of being a creator, being an artist, to start, which is that, I think a lot of us can identify with this. When we first get into being a creator, being an influencer, creating content on the internet, it very much comes from a passion, a hobby. Like, I'm really passionate about this particular subject, and I'm just going to start posting things on the internet. And if it was like it was for us, it probably was for you, where it was just like things started growing naturally, right? We're like, wow, this is kind of surprising. I didn't realize there were other people on the internet out there who are into this, just like I am, right? And so at some point, it kind of turns from this, wow, this is just like scratching a creative itch for myself, into, wow, this might actually be a way in which I can derive a livelihood, maybe it's kind of a nice side income at first, and then maybe this might grow into something significant over time. And so when we start, but focusing on this kind of creative aspect, right? It's like a very normal thing generally to solicit feedback on our work, on our art, right? So whether this is you have a group text thread with some friends, or you're in a Discord or a private community somewhere, a private Facebook group, whatever, you drop your link, your draft of this chapter of your book, or you drop the draft of this, first 30 seconds of your YouTube video, or you dropped your draft of this thumbnail that you're making for your YouTube video, and you ask your friends, hey, how can I make this better? How would you change this? Would you click on this? Would you read this? How can I improve retention in the first 30 seconds of this video? Asking and soliciting for feedback on our creative work is like a pretty normal thing, right? Can we all agree here? Can we drop it in the chat here that this is like a pretty normal thing, that most people feel comfortable doing this? Because I for sure, have felt this over the years. But somehow, when we decide that, you know what, like, I'm spending a lot of time and money trying to make this art, right? I'm editing. Maybe I'm actually going out of pocket. I'm paying editors. I'm paying a podcast producer. I'm paying a graphic designer. I'm paying other people to actually help me bring this to life. What would actually be great is if I could offset some of these costs. Or not just like break even, but maybe wouldn't it be nice if I could actually maybe make a little bit of money, pay my rent, pay my bills, maybe go on vacation like that? Yeah, that seems like a nice thing. But the moment that we cross this chasm from it being this like hobby, passion, creative project to, hey, you know what? I would actually like to make money from this creative act. Somehow we feel like we have to figure that out alone. I can't ask anyone for support. I can't ask anyone for help. I have to figure this out all on my own. And in fact, I cannot ever dream of going out and asking maybe a company or a brand to support this thing that I'm doing, this web series, this book, this podcast, whatever it is, because again, like, that's not their responsibility. It's my responsibility to figure out how to make money doing this. And I actually think that this dichotomy is universal. I actually think that somehow everyone goes through a version of this, throughout their life or their business as they start creating content, where they just feel like this chasm is impossible to bridge. It's this very, very difficult thing to figure out. Like, how do I actually get comfortable soliciting, asking, like, hey, will you help me? Will you support me financially to actually bring this thing to life? Because I really think this thing should exist. I actually went through a version of this very recently, which is actually my in-person event, Sponsor Games, which is happening in just a couple weeks here in San Antonio, Texas. Go to sponsorgames.com if you want to come. If you're not coming, if you don't have a ticket, what the heck? Anyways, that was a shameless shill. So I actually went through this myself because I knew very early on that, like, in order to not lose a bunch of money, I also needed to involve sponsors in this project, but it was something I'm creating from scratch. This event has never existed before. When I was kind of making this pitch to other, whether it's people who are attending or to sponsors that I wanted to be a part of this, I had to kind of tell this story. I had to tell this narrative about why I think this event should exist. The main reason is that sponsorships are the number one revenue stream for many creators, and there is no event focused on this subject, which has never made sense to me. And so I had to tell this story when I was talking with sponsors and companies and things like that I wanted to get in front of my attendees and things like that. But that was a very scary thing, right? For a long time, I felt like, well, I don't know, maybe there isn't any sponsors who are going to want to be a part of this. Like, maybe it's just more about like the attendees and, like, I don't know, that whole thing. Like, do I really even want sponsors involved? Because won't they, like, mess with my creative genius of the vision of the structure of the program and, like, all this stuff. I had all this weird stuff going through my head. But when I ultimately realized, like, okay, first of all, it's not about me. It's about my attendees and ensuring that they have an amazing experience. And you know what? It's actually my job to go out there and get some of these brands and companies and sponsors involved in this so that they can serve my audience as well, serve the attendees so that they can accelerate their journey working with brands and sponsors as well. And so again, it was like, no matter where you're at on this journey, and here I am, a sponsorship coach, I wrote the dang book on this. Even I felt imposter syndrome when it came to bringing this new creative project to life. And so I actually think this is such a fascinating thing. So I want to pause here real quickly. This picture that I painted, this yin and yang of, like, we feel so comfortable soliciting feedback on our creative work, but very uncomfortable asking for help financially from other people to help bring our creative vision to life. Does anyone feel this tension? Can you drop it in the chat? Does anyone feel this tension here in their own business, for their own, creations, whatever type of art you're creating, whatever type of work or content that you're creating, whether it's a YouTube channel, whether it's a podcast, whether it's an in-person event, whether you're an author, whether you're a speaker, you have a community, you have courses, whatever it is, I don't care. Like, one thing you know about me now is that I serve lots of different types of people who monetize their business in a variety of ways. Drop it in the chat. Is this feeling resonant to you? And especially what I want to know is, like, what is coming up? What is the imposter syndrome? What is the internal monologue saying in your brain, right? Where it's just like, no, you can't do that. No, like, no brand would ever want to be involved. Let me rattle off a few that have come up for me over the years. The first one being that, like, I may not want other entities involved, other brands, companies, sponsors, whatever, because I don't want them to violate the creative purity of this project. Because isn't that what happens when you involve outside parties? They're going to now get involved and be like, you need to do these things. We'll only be involved if you do things this way. And I'll be like, no, like, I don't want to do that because I have my own vision for bringing this to life. So, like, if that's the price of admission, like, I don't want to, like, give your brand or give your brand the creative latitude to, like, force my hand to make that, work. This is okay. So, number one, does that resonate for anyone? If I say, does anyone else have that mindset when it comes to, like, maybe preventing you from collaborating with brands? Here's another objection. Maybe, like, no brand is going to be willing to pay enough to make it worth my time, right? So maybe they're willing to get involved, but they're only willing to throw $500 my way or $1,000 my way, which isn't worth the headache, right, of getting them involved. And I believe that, like, getting them involved is actually worth a lot more. So do I even want to go down that road? Is this coming up for anyone? Anything? Another thing is, like, for example, like, I'm not going to have thousands of attendees at my event. So are brands and companies going to be interested in sponsoring my event? Because I don't have like, they can't maybe go to their boss and be like, oh yeah, Justin's going to have 1,000 people as an event. So, and he wants this much money to have a presence there. Are they going to worry about that? Or going to be like, oh, well, like, we can't justify spending this amount of money because there's not going to be hundreds and hundreds of attendees there, right? Because that's not what this event is going to be. It's going to be more like a mastermind feel where it's like it's very intimate and you're working with other creators and it's like, it's a very kind of, hands-on experience. It's not this like massive conference or whatever. That's kind of the opposite of the vibe that I wanted to have at this event. And so I don't know, I'm rattling off all of these things here. Tell me what's coming up for you. Build and Flex with Mooney says, I have confidence, but I don't want the commitment and be handcuffed. This is a really interesting one. Jason Fiddler says, small business owners feel greedy if they are asking audience or friends and family about ways to make more money because it feels like a hobby, not a business. This is really good. Lions Den says, I don't have enough proof. Therefore, I don't deserve backup to empower the ideas. That's why I hesitate to reach out. These are really, really interesting ones. And this is very helpful. By the way, I'm treating this as a sandbox right now because I have not written this talk. I have not written this speech. A lot of these ideas are still pretty nascent for me here, but there's something here I'm like pulling on this thread because I think, frankly, at the end of the day, here's one of the challenges that I have in this business, in this content that I create, is that right now, all of y'all who are on this live stream right now, y'all get it, right? You understand, like, man, if you can, collaborate with a brand, that can have a huge outsized impact in your life or your business, and like understanding how to negotiate and understanding how to pitch a brand and price yourself and all this stuff. Like, I consider y'all like very bleeding edge, right? You guys like you're on this like live stream talking about brand deals and things like that, and like, how many creators are they? How many creators are there out there based on, whether it's the Signal Fire report from, a couple of years back that said there's 50 million creators out there, or maybe it's the Goldman Sachs report that says there's going to be several 100 million creators in the next couple of years, whatever, I think it was like 2029 or something like that, whatever. Regardless of what the number is, 50 million, 100 million, 300 million, whatever it is, we have got a, 0.0001% of that number right here on this live stream right now. And so one thing that's always been a bit tricky for me is understanding how do I communicate with creators in a way that is resonant, that helps them understand that like, hey, I know that you spend the vast majority of your time thinking about your content and how to get more views on your video and how to get more followers and subscribers and all that stuff too. That's where you're living. Look at pretty much any content out there on the internet trying to educate creators. The vast majority of it, 99% of it is like, how do I get more followers? How do I get more views? How do I increase engagement? It's that those top line numbers that most people, the vast majority of people are obsessed with. And here I am, and I'm thinking, okay, how do I have the biggest impact that I can have with creators, influencers, entrepreneurs? Well, there's a couple different ways in which I'm attacking this. Number one is I wrote a book, right? A lot of people learn, even if they don't feel as though they're having an active issue with sponsorships, they may be willing to pick up, 15, 20 bucks, whatever, pick up a book and learn about a subject, more so than like binging a YouTube video or joining a newsletter talking about this stuff. And so the evolution of how I am trying to impact and reach people is also changing over the last 4 or 5 years. And so I wrote the book. And so the next thing that I'm attempting to tackle is this subject, is like starting to talk about topics that aren't just about sponsorships, to kind of use those as a Trojan horse to get into other types of creators and help them realize that like, look, you may be thinking about things in a slightly different way where you're trying to figure out how do I get my creative vision to more people, to reach more people, to impact more people. And my point is actually, if you can overcome this objection that like, hey, working with, like, I can't talk and I can't involve anyone else to like help that happen. If I can overcome that objection, then maybe people will start to realize like, well, maybe there actually is something to this partnership idea. What if I could go out and collaborate with a sponsor, with a brand, with a company where I actually don't have to give up creative control? Maybe there's actually a brand out there who gets it. They totally understand where I'm coming from, why that this would be such an important thing to have in the world. And that also would align with their own objectives as a company, and being able to just say that they are supporting this project is enough, to actually, give me 5, 10, 20, 50K to actually bring this project to life. Wow, maybe that's actually a possibility. I get so fired up and excited about this idea that I'm starting to experiment with other different types of formats and videos. And this talk, guys, this is going to be my first keynote at one of the largest conferences out there. I can't say it yet because they haven't announced it yet, but I pitched this talk as like a keynote talk because, again, I was always put on like the workshop track. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, brand deals, sponsorships. Like, yeah, that's a great workshop, Justin. Go over here, teach people how to pitch brands and teach people how to price and like all this stuff too. And so for the last 4 or 5 years, those are the types of talks that I've been given, basically, right? But I just kept thinking like, okay, I am not going to be pigeonholed. I'm not just going to be that guy, because I need to have this message in front of more people. Right? More people need to believe. And so I'm not just going to talk about sponsorships. I'm going to talk about this whole collaboration paradox idea. So how has this resonated with people? What are the things that you think I should be talking about when it comes to removing these limiting beliefs from creators that like the only way, when it comes to monetization, I have to figure this out all by myself. So please give me your own perspective from your own creator journey, from your own life. What are the things that I need to address? I'm especially interested in those objections where it's like the imposter syndrome things, the things you think about laying in bed at night, the things that other people in your life are telling you, your friends, your family. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, how's that creator thing going? Are you still trying to be an influencer? Like all of these things that you hear that are like constantly beating you down, saying you can't do this, go back and get a real job. Like, tell me, what are those things? Because I need to be able to, this is going to be a big part of the first section of the speech, is like overcoming these objections. Because if I don't do that, people are going to tune out. If I'm in an audience of 1,000 people or 500 people and I start talking about this, I know a bunch of people are going to tune out unless I address it head on. I'm going to be like, hey, I know there's a bunch of you in this room who are thinking, oh God, this guy's going to talk about making money or sponsorships or whatever. And like, I don't want to do that. I just want to build my audience. I want to grow my followers. I want to get more views. And I'm just going to like, if I build it, they will come. That's what I heard. If I build the audience, if I grow my channel, if I build my platform, eventually I'll be able to like turn on the monetization switch, right? I'll make AdSense. I'll make, sponsorship dollars. I'll make affiliate income. I'll sell my own thing, merchandise, whatever. But that's something to figure out down the line. Is this resonating with anyone? Because I know for a fact that the vast majority of creators think this, right? So please drop it in the chat. Let me know. I just want to give a big shout out to Liz here in the chat. Great to see you, Liz. I just got priceless help in the Wizards Guild from Joe. You guys are living my pockets, or maybe lining my pockets, living my pockets. I don't know. Just got help from Joe in the Wizards Guild. He used the book like a manual for life, and it's lining my pockets. There we go, lining my pockets. Thank you for what you do for creators. Liz, you're so very welcome. Joe is an absolute legend, and I'm so thrilled to hear that Joe got you such fantastic help in the Wizards Guild. So what Liz is talking about, so Wizards Guild is my sponsorship coaching program. So for those of you who are new here, perhaps, I actually recognize some new faces here. I have a completely different model to serving creators than you may be accustomed to. So I'm not a manager. I'm not an agent. I'm not a broker. You cannot retain us. We do not take a cut of your deals. That is the biggest difference between how we educate creators and how perhaps others operate, where we're basically going to educate you. We're going to coach you on an ongoing basis for your help with your pitches and your pricing and your negotiations and putting those proposals together for you. And then you keep 100% of what you make. So it's a flat investment every month. And so this is the program that Liz is talking about. It's called Wizards Guild. And so maybe Bianca on my team can drop the link here in the chat. And so we'd be more than happy to support you in there if that's something that you need help with. And this actually, in fact, kind of insider knowledge here. This program is going to be the focus of my business over the next, I'm actually making a big shift in my business to supporting people primarily in the coaching program versus the course. For the first 4 years, I had a course called Brand Deal Wizard, and this was the primary way in which I educated people. And it is basically, the fundamental knowledge that I have distilled into my brand new book, Sponsor Magnet. And so now that I have the book, there's going to be a big shift towards the coaching program, because I see the biggest ROI for creators there. There's people who are doing 6 figures a month in that program, and they're paying us a flat amount. So the ROI is like absolutely massive. And so I'm very much bullish on how we can serve people in a really profound way over time. And so thrilled to hear that this has been impactful for you, Liz. Laura Wells Fitness says, just bought your book. I have been thinking exactly like that. If I build an audience, the money will happen. Well, first of all, Laura, I did see your book purchase come through earlier today, so I'm so appreciative of it. Guys, we are actually almost about to cross 2,000 copies sold of the book, which is insane. And just as a quick update, I haven't mentioned this recently, but let me actually pull it up here on the live stream. Why not? I wasn't planning on doing this, but we're just going to have some fun here. So you guys know that I have this thing called the 10K copies challenge, where you can see this little tracker here at the top, that each time we pass a milestone of books sold, you will unlock something new. Everyone who's purchased the book will unlock something new. So we've already blown past 1,000 copies sold, which unlocked the secret video where I talked about how I responded to a brand that rejected my pitch. And we are about to blow past 2,000 copies, guys. Look at this. We're at 1,980 copies sold. And once we hit 3,000 copies, everyone is going to be invited to a private live pricing workshop that I'm going to be doing live over Zoom. And so I'm super excited. And so there's all these different milestones. So once we hit 5,000 copies, you're going to unlock a private live brand contact hunting workshop, where I'm going to literally be helping you find email addresses for your dream sponsors. 8,000 copies is a private live negotiation role play workshop, which is going to be dope. And then 10,000 copies, if we hit it before April 21st, about 2 months left, then everyone is going to get free access to my gifted to paid course. So I'm having a bunch of fun with this challenge. So if this is exciting to you and you're like, oh my God, we gotta unlock that, I really want to make that happen, then share the book to all your friends on social, in your newsletter, in your podcast. It would mean the absolute world to me. Just having a bunch of fun with it. So, all right. Oh, we got Mecca here in the chat. Mecca, what is going on? I prefer not to tell anyone about my channel, like friends or family, since I know none will get it unless it is a proper big business. So this is I totally understand this. I was you for a long time, where I didn't want anyone in like my real life to know about the fact that I was a creator, that my wife and I were like making content on the internet, because I didn't want to have that conversation. You know the conversation. What is the conversation? Drop it in the chat. It's, oh, how do you make money doing that? Oh, you're trying to be an influencer? Oh, are you dancing on the internet? Oh, what's your channel? What's your URL? What's your handle? What's your username? I want to look it up. Let me look it up right now and like watch one of your videos. And I get it. Everyone like plays that out, and they think, I don't want that to happen. Or maybe it's, oh, I don't want anyone in my like real job to know, because they are going to think that I'm not taking my job seriously, that I'm not, dedicated enough, and I don't want to advance. I'm just like distracted with this side hustle thing, and I'm not serious about my job and my professional career and things like that. Anyone feel that? Bueller? Anyone? I mean, honestly, like that, this was a big thing for me. And the quick story, I think the funny story here is that like I played that conversation up in my head for years, because I used to work in medical devices. And I let that prevent me from really doubling down and growing my creator business, because I was fearful. At the end of the day, I was scared. I was scared of having that conversation, of really looking myself in the mirror and being like, I would just tell myself, oh, it's just a hobby. Like what we're doing on the internet, it's just a hobby. Oh, now it's bringing in a little bit of money. Oh, that's cool. Like, but I've still got my, my stable job with the medical benefits and all this stuff, right? And I never allowed myself to even dream of like, what would it mean if this actually was the main thing? It actually took years for me to get comfortable with that idea of taking it seriously. And what that also entailed was like actually taking it seriously whenever I had conversations with people about it in real life. And so what ultimately happened is I just got sick of it. I got tired of living this kind of double life. Like where, I was at my 9 to 5 and then the 5 to 9, which was just the grinding, uploading videos, editing for years. I finally was like, you know what? It's actually okay to have multiple parts of your identity where you are multi-passionate, right? Where they want, where you can just with your full chest say, oh yeah, I make videos on the side, or, oh, I have this other passion and I do this, right? And so it took me a really long time to feel comfortable with that. And really at the end of the day, what happened, to just kind of make a long story short, is I was like, okay, you know what? I am going to update my LinkedIn profile. Not only am I a product manager in medical devices, but I am a YouTube creator. And I went and I selected YouTube as like the employer, and I put creator as the title. And I put like, when we started our channels, and that was like the duration of the employment. And what happens when you do that on your LinkedIn profile? Oftentimes it updates in everyone's feeds, right? And so sure enough, later that week after I had updated that, someone came up to me in my job and said, hey, I saw that you updated your LinkedIn profile and that you are a creator. And I was like, oh God, here we go. And what, how that conversation went? I was fully steeling myself for ridicule. And this person said, that's really cool. I've always wanted to do something like that. Tell me about the type of camera that you use. How do you edit your videos? Do you make money doing that? Yeah, of course that question came, but it wasn't condescending at all. It was actually respectful. It was, wow, that's super cool. Like, tell me about that, right? And so over time, word kind of spread around the office that we were doing this. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a handful of people who poked and jabbed at it. It was a little condescending and like, oh, you're trying to be an influencer and all this stuff. But by and large, it was very positive. It was very supportive. It was like more respect versus, ridicule. And I was so, on the one hand, I was very relieved. But on the other hand, I was bummed. I was bummed that I spent so many years building this thing up in my head that it was going to be this like terrible, fearful, scary conversation that I had to have with everyone in like my real life. And it was this big, like I thought it was going to be this like hugely negative thing that happened. When in reality, it was like a non-issue. It was this. It was just like this total non-issue. And I just thought to myself, like, man, what if I had taken this more seriously like a couple of years ago? And I just like really leaned into this fact. And I guess I just kind of wanted to go down this conversation thread for anyone listening here that may have needed to hear this. That was like, you know what? What would it look like if I allowed myself to dream? If I allowed myself to take this seriously, if I allowed myself to not be scared of having that conversation, so like, here's another example is like, could you allow yourself when you go to the dentist? I just moved to Minnesota a couple months ago. And so what does that mean? You have to go and find the new eye doctor, the new dentist, the new primary care doctor. And what ultimately happens whenever you make small talk at a new place where you're establishing care or whatever, people ask, oh, what do you do for your job? What do you do for a living? This type of thing. And you know what I say? I say, I am a sponsorship coach. And what does that lead to? People say, what's a sponsorship coach, right? I'm like, tell me more about that, right? And so I have the sales pitch nailed, right? I talk about what I do for a living, and that leads to another series of questions, but I am no longer scared of having that conversation because I am proud of what I do. I am super proud of this. And yes, it's a new thing. And yes, it leads to, perhaps some uncomfortable conversations, but at this point in my career, I just don't care anymore. I'm proud of what I do. And so what would it take for you to get there? This is my question for you, is like pulling the thread back to this whole idea of this collaboration paradox where you feel very comfortable to talk about your creative act, your creative work, the things you're creating, and soliciting feedback to make that work better. But what would it take for you to feel comfortable talking about bringing this to life in partnership with another entity where it actually could bridge that divide, bridge that chasm to actually make it possible, and just feeling comfortable in your life, leaning into this whole thing. And like, it's actually not a dirty thing to actually want to make money from your art, from your creativity? What does this bring up for you? Okay. How are we feeling here? Nell, full of life here, says, I post my IG content on my main IG where a lot of my older friends are. But even though I have engagement from others, there's a large portion who still don't engage because they aren't my audience. I don't want to make a new IG. Yeah. Oh, Nell says, yeah, I work in clinical research by trade, but I am also a creator. I'm trying to balance both, but it is tough. I have deleted some followers to help my issue, but it hasn't been enough and it stunts my account growth. Yeah, I hear you on that, Nell. Sarah says, I think I miss. Oh yeah, I get a lot of more of, oh cool. Why can't you do XYZ thing? Because that's not actually what I'm doing. I see. Yeah, and they mean well, but it's annoying. Yeah, I get you. I think it's becoming a lot more generally understood, which is nice. Yeah, I tell people I'm a knit and crochet designer. I write the patterns that go in the knitting and crochet books. 99% of people think that is cool. Yeah, that is super cool. I love that how you have that one-liner, Sarah. Urban Bakes says, I think I missed a comment from Urban Bakes a little bit further up. Let's see here, Urban Bakes. I feel younger generations are more understanding while older generations don't. However, I've been seeing more and more boomers becoming content creators on YouTube and TikTok, which I think is amazing. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Inspired Money says money should not be a taboo topic. Speaking openly about it helps both creators and brands. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about this for a second. This is a huge thing. This is one of the biggest reasons that a lot of creators have a hard time advocating for themselves and understanding their worth, because they grew up in a family where money was taboo to discuss or money was tight. You just didn't talk about that amongst your family, amongst your friends. And so you grew up and surprise, surprise, none of us took negotiation classes, right? In high school, in undergraduate, whatever. And so here we are being expected to learn how to be cold, hard negotiators when we have all this baggage from our upbringing that you just get shut down internally, mentally, where, oh man, I feel so lucky that this brand and this company wants to work with me, with us. I'm so lucky. It's like this default power imbalance. Holy cow, that's hard. That is tough. And I empathize with people who grew up in a situation like that. That is absolutely challenging. We've got Chris and Sarah tuning in on Instagram. Chris and Sarah, I want to give a shout out to Chris and Sarah here. Chris made a really interesting LinkedIn post recently about his experience working. I hope you're okay with me sharing this, Chris, but his experience working with another agency. This is another thing that kind of goes back to this whole collaboration paradox that I'm going to touch on in this keynote that I do soon, is about how the default mindset for a lot of creatives, a lot of artists is like, I need to go out there and hire someone else. I need to hire a manager. I need to hire an agent. I need to hire a business person because they will either take a lot of this work off my plate. I will pay them 20, 25%. That feels like a good use of my time. I, as a creative, should be focusing on my zone of genius anyway, because I read these books that say that's what I should be doing, is the content creation stuff. That's my zone of genius. And so let me just find someone to do this other business stuff. Or they look at these agents, these brokers, these managers as the gatekeeper, because they say, oh, I have contacts that you don't. And brands don't want to interface with you, individual creator, because they want to interface with me because I'm professional and I'm the manager and I'm the liaison and like this type of stuff, right? And so this is the default opinion, or the default assumption that most people have, is like that I need to find this person who's going to unlock the growth trajectory for my business. And so a lot of what I talk about in the book, I have this section in the beginning of the book where I talk about this, where it's like, that is a flawed assumption. 99.9% of creators, influencers, entrepreneurs will never, ever, ever need someone like that in their business. I actually think that it behooves you. It is a much better investment for your own business to do this yourself. Either do it yourself and learn this stuff, or hire someone internally on your team to create a process, a standard operating procedure for how you do partnerships within your own business, and keep 100% for yourself. I have been doing this for a long time, for 15 years, along with my wife. We have been in a variety of management situations, multi-channel networks, MCNs early on, and we have had some absolute horror stories that I can share with you, as well as tons of friends that we've known over the years. And so this is, I will fully admit, has colored a lot of my perspective of managers, agents, brokers, et cetera. But we've been independent for over a decade, and I can share with you full stop that was the best decision we ever made for ourselves. Was like, look, if partnerships especially represents a significant portion of your revenue, of your total revenue as creators, you better be allocating more than 2% of your time on that. You as a creator, you are the CEO. You are head of sales. You are head of business development. It's you on the phone call, not your manager. You got to be allocating one day every 2 weeks, God forbid, for you to carve out time to be on that briefing call with that brand, or be on that, call where the brand wants to ideate some stuff related to the campaign. That's probably a pretty good investment of your time. And guess what? That's also probably why this brand is going to pay you 2, 3, 5 times the amount of money that they pay these other people that are they're negotiating with on this deal, because it just seems like it's going to go better. Because you were the one that took the time to get on that call with them, and these 9 other people couldn't bother because they're in their zone of genius. Sorry, I feel maybe this is kind of a spiky point of view on this subject. I actually think the zone of genius thing has poisoned the well for a lot of creators to think that they can be entitled about this stuff, that they think it's above them to get on a call with a brand. You know what? I need to make a short about this. I've just realized this is actually a really good short that I need to make. Bianca, if you're still here, can you ping me in the chat to remind me? I should probably make this. That's actually a really good hook. The zone of genius rule is a lie, or I don't know, something like that, right? I don't know. I feel this way. Is this resonating for anyone? Is this resonating? Because I feel like maybe I'm alone in this. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Guys, I don't know what happened, but the live stream is popping today. Between like Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, we've got hundreds of creators here today. And guys, when I started doing this live stream like 3 years ago, every week, I had like 5 people, consistently like 5 people showing up every week. So it's very encouraging to me that we're going in the right direction here. More people are seeing the power of collaborating with brands, investing in yourself, learning this stuff. What do you think? Chris Grubb on Instagram, Ackers Lawn Care, Belford Williams Jr., Wild Blueberries, Chris and Sarah, Fatima Lovely Tima. Let me know. Bianca says, I can't believe you asked if I'm here. Okay. I didn't know. I didn't want to because if you weren't going to be here, I was going to have to quickly take a pause and write this idea down, because I think it's a good idea. Hold on a second here. Hold the phone here. I am so upset with myself because I did not realize that I did not have the scrolling banner on the bottom of the screen to shamelessly plug my new book sponsor Magnet. Holy cow, what's wrong with me? I got to give a big shout out to My Crafty Adventures in the chat, who said, devoured your book. I bought 2 more for friends. Guys, I'm just going to pull this up on the screen here. Devoured your book, bought 2 more for friends. So first of all, thank you. That is so kind of you. And you know what? I'm going to give you some sound effects for that one, because I can't tell you how much that means to me. A big part of how I'm going to help and reach and impact more creators with this book is with your help, because there's no way that it's going to be you. It's going to be you telling your friend or telling your group chat, look, y'all are missing the boat here. You guys are just focused on growing your audience. You're just focused on, if I build it, they will come, but you're missing the boat here. You don't have to wait for brands to reach out to you. This is what a lot of creators, a lot of influencers think. And so it's going to require you being out there and beating the drum alongside me. And so the fact that you did that you bought books for your friends, that means so much to me, honestly. Truly, candidly, thank you. And if there's anyone listening or watching, if there's anything that I've ever done for you, helped you with the negotiation, helped you find the confidence to pitch a brand, that would be the ultimate gift, is that if you picked up a copy of the book and maybe an extra one and gave it to one of your friends, that would mean the world to me. So thank you. My Crafty Adventure says that when I was building my first business, I was the CFO, COO, HR, and marketing. You have to wear all the hats and give them all 100% if you want to be successful. And that is exactly right, My Crafty Adventures, because this is what you're doing when you're building a creator startup. Basically, when you're a creator, when you're building a business as a creator, oftentimes it's going to be just you. You're going to be the only employee for a long time. And maybe you do bring on someone else, maybe a part-time VA initially, or then maybe you bring on your first full-time employee or whatever. And but it's going to be this really, really long process until you feel comfortable enough with a reliable enough income to make that decision to actually hire someone. And so you have to view that these are all my job. All of these things, is my job for the vast, vast majority of this, of this journey. I didn't hire when did I hire my first employee for Creator Wizard? Well, first of all, let me talk about my wife and I's business. We brought on a community manager maybe 7 years into it. Right. So we were doing everything ourselves. And so then I realized the power of having, help. Pretty early on in the genesis of growing Creator Wizard. So I think it was maybe a year and a half before I hired someone to help with the Creator Wizard stuff. But yeah, once you see that, it's but again, it's you have to have the conviction that okay, even if I am not making a huge amount of money now, investing into this in the short term is going to pay off down the line. Look, when I started my newsletter for Creator Wizard, I actually hired a community manager and someone to help me curate that newsletter on a weekly basis before I even had a way to pay me, before I even did coaching, before I even had a course, because I had the conviction and I knew that I was eventually going to monetize it. I was going to start coaching. I was going to have this course soon. But I knew that going out of pocket in the short term was going to build up a tremendous amount of goodwill amongst my audience. But it was scary. I'm not going to lie. It was very scary making that investment. But I knew it was going to pay off in the end. All right. I am going to take a pause because I've been talking for 45 minutes straight and I have not taken a single swig of water. And so we have reached the point in the live stream where I'd love to answer your questions about sponsorships, brand deals, negotiations, pitching. You tell me, what are we going to do? And I'm going to use this pause while I'm waiting for your questions to talk about my freaking in-person event that is happening in 3 weeks in San Antonio, Texas. I am going to pull up the website and I'm going to share my screen because, guys, we are almost there. I am so excited for this freaking event. Bianca, me, the team, we have been working our little butts off trying to get this event ready for y'all. And this is going to be unlike any event that you have ever been to. It's going to be 3 days of absolute insanity. You're going to be practicing your sponsorship pitches. You're going to be doing real life negotiation role play. You're going to be getting expert coaching in real time. The catering, the food is going to be ballin', guys. It's going to be amazing. You're going to get to connect and network with fellow creators. You're going to get to learn how you can land repeat brand deals. And we booked out the dopest venue, which is the Briscoe Western Art Museum in San Antonio, Texas, right on the Riverwalk. We're going to be having so much fun. And so I mentioned that we are going to be turning my 8-step sponsorship wheel into 8 games that you'll be playing to learn and master these concepts. So the pitch game and the negotiate game and the contract game, you get it. And throughout these games, we're actually going to be keeping score. Okay. And there is going to be 8 finalists that advance to the sponsor tank, where you will be pitching a panel of real partnership marketing managers, our sponsors. There's going to be a rep from our sponsors on this panel, and one lucky grand prize winner is going to walk away with $5,000 in cash. And 7 runners up will be getting these creator gear prize packages. There's a special thing that actually is going to be in addition to this grand prize of cash. Can't announce it yet because I've been sworn to secrecy, but it's going to be absolutely crazy and dope. And I cannot wait to announce what the grand prize winner is going to be getting in addition to the cash. So what are you even waiting for? Seriously, guys, we're just 3 weeks away. And if you've been waiting for a sign and you're like, man, maybe this is going to be my year, but oh no, I've just been building my business and I don't know how I'm going to make money doing this. If you have believed that sponsorships should play a role in your business and you want to learn how to get more deals, how to get paid more on each deal, come to Sponsor Games, sponsorgames.com. How was that pitch, guys? Are we feeling good about this? Who's going to be there? Drop it in the chat. Who is going to come to Sponsor Games? And especially if you purchase your ticket right here on the live stream, I'm going to give you a massive applause. Come on, guys. All right. I just had to do that because I'm very excited for this event. My Crafty Adventure says, I can't make it, but if you ever do a virtual one, I will be your first sign up. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, well, we'll see what this event turns into down the line. I do have a lot of really ambitious plans for making this. Maybe there's a future year where there's like a virtual ticket to the event. Couldn't really figure that out for this first year. It's just a lot. Planning an in-person event is, oh my gosh, I have so much respect for people who have in-person events because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Don Vito in the chat says, I am there. Let's go. Holy cow, Don Vito. I am super excited to see you there, man. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we have a call on the books too, potentially about the coaching program. I think I recognize your profile photo, but good to see you, man. I can't wait to see you there. It is going to be an absolute blast. So I'm very, very excited. We've got Heather Parody tuning in on Instagram as well. We've got RJ the Creator, Nikki L 84, Better Best Dog tuning in. Good to see you here. I think I saw a question a little bit further up in the chat here. So let me pull up where that question was. And I'm going to take a swig again because, okay, here we go. Build and Fix with Money with Mooney says, question, just here's a dumb question. Is it possible to make more money with my channel outside AdSense without it feeling like work? I'm retired and don't want it to feel like a job. This is a great question. I think this is another great kind of objection that a lot of people have, which is just like AdSense. If you're a YouTuber, AdSense feels like the holy grail, right? It's like I upload videos. I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't even have to talk to my followers. I just upload videos that I enjoy making and Google sends me a check. YouTube sends me a check every month. Holy cow, that feels like the holy grail. That feels awesome. I love that. I don't want to do anything outside of that because that would mean that this is going to start feeling like a job. And so I get you. I understand. I empathize. I understand that. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that mindset. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But oftentimes what happens is that I sit people down and I explain to them, I said, look, if you could make $10,000 on sponsorships for every $1,000 that you make with AdSense, would you do it? Would you decide that this is a worthwhile thing? I don't know what the ratio is in terms of like the amount of money you'd have to make for it to be worthwhile, because that's different for everyone, but you can absolutely make way more money on sponsorships than you can with AdSense way more quickly. This has been my experience in virtually every niche, in virtually every content format, every content, like vertical. It's way easier to make, that money on sponsorships than it is with AdSense. Because if you think about it, like you really have to be doing unless you're in, let's say, like the personal finance niche where, the RPMs or the CPMs on YouTube are like a lot of money. It's like, $20 to $40 something. It could be crazy like that, crypto, et cetera. But for like the vast majority of niches, it's anywhere from $2 to $10, let's say generously, of what your RPM is like, revenue per 1,000 impressions or views, basically. And you have to get millions of views a month to make a consistent $10,000, right? And so if I describe this, I just sit people down and say, look, like let's pull up your lifetime AdSense earnings or how much you made the last 30, 60, 90 days. And I can sit you down and say like, look, I can help you make that in a single sponsorship. Right. And all those views that you got over the last 30, 60, 90 days probably represented, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 videos that you had to film, edit, painstakingly do that, engage with your audience, things like that, right? Versus a single video that you could make that nets you the same amount. A lot of people think I'm like being crazy and I'm like throwing out crazy numbers, but this is not crazy. I have hundreds of testimonials, hundreds of case studies showing that this is the case, right? And so to answer your question, I don't know, what's the number for you? Everyone has a different number, right? Everyone has a different number of what that is, but it's absolutely possible. Build and fix with Mooney. So hopefully that helps. All right. Belford Williams Jr. says, I do street interviews and I've seen people get sponsors for this type of thing. Not sure what type of sponsorships for student athlete interviews. Looking forward to reading the book and possibly going to the conference. Any idea on my niche? Look, Belford, dude, I would love to have you there, man, because there is a huge amount of opportunity. Dude, if your demographic is people, I would imagine, I don't know, because I haven't seen the back end of your insights or your analytics for your platform, but I imagine there's a huge amount of Gen Z creators or viewers that watch your content. Holy cow, there's probably a lot of education-based products, whether that is, educational institutions like universities and colleges, community colleges, test prep, right? Like ACT, SAT prep, depending on where you're based, other online virtual education, tutoring, training, coaching, things like that. There's so many opportunities, I think, probably for someone in your niche, depending on your audience, depending on the type of people that are in, kind of the demographics. And so holy cow, dude. Yeah. Like man on the street type interviews with student athletes and things like that. There's a huge amount of opportunity for you, dude. Like 100%, like no question in my mind. Let's see here. So if you have any questions, additional questions about like coming, we'd love to see you there, man. And I know we're a couple weeks away, but yeah, still buy your ticket. Like there's definitely time. So, would love to see you there, man. And frankly, like, I don't know, man. Anyone else listening here on the edge, trying to decide whether you're going to buy a ticket or not, there is something different of like, maybe you've been showing up and like being on these live streams for months or years or whatever. It's so different, like breaking bread, like sharing a drink, like having a meal with people who are of a similar mindset to you, who kind of get it. I don't know about you, but there's not a lot of real people, like people in my like real life, like my friends, my family, who kind of like get this. And so being in a physical room with those people and just having coffee and having a drink and just getting to share conversations about like what you're both going through building this stuff. Oh man, I can't describe how special that is. And so I wanted to create a space for that opportunity for everyone who is also in this weird, strange journey that we're all on. I'm so excited for the event. And so would love to see each and every one of you there. And I understand it's an investment. I know it's not, especially if you don't live near San Antonio, you got to buy a plane ticket and hotel and all in the ticket for the event. And so I understand that, but I promise you have my guarantee that it's going to be worth your time. All right. So I would absolutely love to see you there. Josiah, we got Josiah in the chat here. Good to see you, Josiah, a Brand Deal Wizard alumni. So good to see you, man. Let's see here. Don Vito had a question. I am producing a tech show on my YouTube channel. I've been reaching out to brands requesting the product to review in exchange for me creating high quality videos for them to repurpose. And I'm also driving sales through affiliate. Do you think that's a good strategy? Well, sounds like a good strategy for this particular brand. Sounds great. However, there may be other brands that aren't excited about this strategy, that aren't excited about this pitch. And so the mindset that I encourage you to have when you're doing these pitches is sure, that can be what you lead with, but really at the end of the day, it's not about you. It would be like saying like, here is this round peg and I'm just going to jam this into this square hole of your brand. And so a better mindset is like understanding and doing some research about what it seems like is going on in the brand's world and saying like, here's one idea. We could do it this way. In fact, I've done this for other brands and here's a case study of how that's been successful, but like happy to chat about other ways in which I could serve you. And so you use this pitch that it sounds like you're currently making as the wedge to kind of get in and have this introductory conversation. But it's really, the point of it is really about getting on the phone, getting this phone call where you can say, hey, I know I pitched this, but really what I want to know is like, what's important to you? What's going on in your world? What are your business objectives? What's important to you? What are you budgeting for, right? What are you investing money in doing that you're trying to move the needle for? And then you say, great, let me go back and send you a revised proposal. Now that I know what's important to you, Now I can make a revised proposal that will absolutely address what you just told me. Page number 1 of this proposal, Don, is what I heard on this phone call. You told me boom, 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 boom. Great, right? I address all I regurgitate, I re-articulate all the things that you said you needed help with, and then boom. Now we're going to move on to the proposal where I directly address what you said you're having issues with. In fact, I have a section in my new book, Sponsor Magnet, which I did not put up on the screen. What's wrong with me? I didn't put my scrolling ticker there. One of the things I love about my book, this is so funny. One of the things I love about my own book, no, but for real, is that the table of contents, I made it purposefully like a reference guide where it's the titles of each subsection are very much like, do this thing. It's exactly about what the piece of advice is rather than some kind of amorphous title that didn't really make sense. And so the section that I wanted to call out is under the negotiate chapter, and it is on page 88. Pivot what you propose based on what you learn from the brand. So I have this little graphic that I created that I think is like a very good example of what I mean here. So the little dialogue that happens here is the brand says, hey, how much for one video? And instead of you being like $1,500, you said, what's your goal? And they say, oh, well, it's to sell more event tickets. And you say, okay, well, I'd actually recommend we do newsletter blasts instead, because that represents my most engaged audience members. And that is a better tactic to accomplish the goal that you outlined. And so I just wanted to like call that out because I think that that's like a really important skill set that you need to have as a creator. In fact, that's what we're going to be doing in the negotiate game at Sponsor Games, is learning how to pivot, the brand says this, what do you say in response to that? You don't let them shut you down. You say, okay, well, good to know. I didn't know that was like an important thing to you. Here's what we can do instead, if that's important, right? So anyways, hope this was helpful, everyone. Really appreciate your kind of high level ideas about this talk that I'm doing called the Collaboration Paradox. And I'm so excited to kind of work on this speech. And yeah, guys, I'm so excited to see some of you in person live at the event. It's going to be a blast. If you haven't picked up Sponsor Magnet, sponsormagnet.com. If you want to go to the event, sponsorgames.com. Isn't it cool how I'm building out this like creator wizard cinematic universe, like all these different pieces? No, I'm having a blast here. Anyways, thank you so much for showing up each and every week. It always means the world to me. And I will see you on the flip side next week. All right, everyone.